You already know our September-October issue is full of amazing arts and cultural events, experiences, and opportunities, and it also includes Best of Roanoke columnist Ginya Kalinina's best spots for mural selfies, as well as a gorgeous photo essay from Sean Nolan of several of the area's beautiful murals. So naturally, our third segment features an artist whose mural work you have definitely come to know and love even without realizing, Jon Murrill. You've absolutely admired his work, and I'm excited for us to chat today so we can get to know him and the incredible work that it's drawing all sorts of eyes towards Roanoke's arts and culture scene. Hi, Jon. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thanks so much for having me.
So glad to have you here.
Yeah.
You might remember Jon as our cover star from the Jan-Feb 2022 issue, where he was featured in our 40 Under 40 class of 2022. We shared a little bit about your career and background, including your BA in art from Roanoke College and your MFA in painting and drawing from Radford University. And of course, it feels like a long time ago, but your early murals from Sidecar, Twisted Track Brew Pub, and the French Farmhouse. But that was almost 2 years ago, so there's a lot of new stuff that you've got to talk to us about today. So let's get started.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
So let's update listeners on what's been changing for you in the last couple of years, because I think you're no longer in the school district anymore. You actually went full time.
Yeah. I taught for 10 years at Patrick Henry High School locally.
Bless you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I loved it, actually. It was a great experience.
So about your background and career experience, tell us a little bit about that in addition to the great education that you've had to fulfill you.
Sure. So for myself, being in education really has been a passion of mine for a very long time. About 2 or 3 years ago, I got into murals as kind of a side hustle, just something I was interested in.
A side hustle?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was just something that, it was presented to me actually by Jason Martin as he was opening up Sidecar next to Martin's, and it was... we had a relationship, and he knew I was an artist, a local artist, and said, "Hey, would you like to try your hand at murals?" And I said, "Okay."
Man, thanks, Jason Martin. That's so cool.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I always say murals are like dominoes. You do one, the next one falls into your lap, and so it became an exciting endeavor that I pursued.
Yeah. So what great things have you been adding to your resume here lately?
Well, for the past few years, I really kind of focused a little bit more on kind of business murals, breweries, restaurants. And then lately I've been doing more public spaces, which has been really exciting because Roanoke has started to develop this really strong desire for public art and what it can bring to the area and the joy it brings to the community. And so lately I've really been engaging in a lot more large-scale projects, which has been very exciting.
It's been really cool to see it on your Instagram, both like the behind the scenes and then, of course, the finished product. Like how you start from nothing to the amazing creation is just so neat. And, of course, Doug Jackson was in our first segment talking about public art and the importance of it to every facet of our community. So it's really exciting to have you here talking about your perspective as one of the participating artists.
Yeah. And Doug is an absolute titan for our area. I mean, he does such a great job bringing in not just myself, but so many muralists into the area and just spreading the good word of what murals can bring to our area.
Yeah, and he also talked about how you are one of two ambassadors, so to speak. You're working with other artists to figure out how to incorporate their works into public art.
Sure, yeah. So Roanoke City's recently hired me as an artist in residence for the year. They accepted my proposal, which centers around creating ripples in our area, bringing public artwork to neighborhoods, and pairing neighborhood artists with small projects around the area to see what ripples that can create amongst the public art scene in Roanoke.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's going to be a really exciting endeavor. So I'm going to check back with you next year and see like where we're at on that. And so we're talking about one of the photo essays that you're going to see in September-October issue. Sean Nolan did this gorgeous photo essay. And of course, it's just a really small slice. How can you fit everything in there into 4 pages, right? So I would love to know your process. Tell us about how does this even start? Like what gets you going, inspired? How does this happen?
So much of what I do is not out in public. So much is on my iPad and my sketchbooks, working on concepts, finding new ideas, driving around town, looking at walls, the amount of time I'm just spending looking for new projects, looking for new walls, whether it's public, private, and that really gets my creative process going. So outside of the design process, start to finish on a wall, every project's very different. Right. Some walls are ready to go day one. Some walls take a lot of preparation. But each wall, it needs a little love or a lot of love. Yeah. The process is really exciting once I get started.
Yeah, I'm guessing that some of the walls that need some work, that's a challenge certainly that you have to face. I mean, are you in charge of having to power wash and things like that and get it ready?
Sometimes.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sometimes. I am a firm believer in doing things the right way in terms of longevity. I want projects to last, to look good, and to really have an impact for more than just 3 to 5 years. You see murals all over the country which look great, and then in 3 years they're fading, or they may have not been prepared the correct way. All my murals are prepared with the right primers, the right products. Sherwin-Williams is great with me.
They know you by personal now.
They are very happy when I walk in the door. I think I'm keeping them in business. But yeah, we have a great relationship, and doing things the right way in terms of bringing artwork to the area that's not just going to last for the short term, but is really going to be a strong foundation for my work and others' work for a long time.
That makes perfect sense. Like an A to Z artist. I mean, you really start from the very beginning and all the way up to the end.
Yep, I've learned a lot over the past few years.
I guess you have. Well, and that's interesting. When you were working on the Freedom First building, you really learned a lot. I'd be curious to know, that building, I cannot get over like how eye-catching it is when you're driving around. You're like, what is how can you not look at that gorgeous piece of work from wherever you're driving? Just be careful, guys, on the road. But like, you learned a lot, I think, in that process.
Oh man, that was an incredible experience. So just to clarify, that's not my mural.
Right.
I assisted on that with 2 artists that came in and were hired. James Ballet, who also did the beautiful mural at Big Lick.
Yeah. I feel like that was like one of the first big pieces that came to town,
one
right?
of the first.
Yeah.
He came back.
Yeah.
And
Thank you very much.
Yes, and he brought a Swiss-German artist who goes by Owner, who's a painter, and they were kind enough to allow me to participate in the mural, to assist. And I use this as an amazing opportunity to get firsthand experience from 2 titans in the industry. And it became one of the better decisions I made professionally, because I learned more in 11 days. Believe it or not, we finished it in 11 days than I had in 2 years. And so they gave me such a foundation of knowledge that I would not have had otherwise in terms of what's offered to me in the area.
That's so cool, because you're already just so well established, but to be able to grow and learn and educate yourself continuously, like what an important thing for an artist to do.
Absolutely,
that's fantastic. So in talking about successes, in addition to your assistance with that mural, for all the work that you're doing, what does it feel like when people come to you and that's your work and that's amazing? I mean, what does that feel to you when that happens?
I mean, I take such pride in it, really. I'm from Roanoke, grew up in Roanoke, lived in Roanoke for most of my life. And so for me to have that kind of fulfillment at the end of a project, where people come up and they show the joy that it's created in their life or in their commute, it's fantastic. That really validates what I'm doing in terms of my appreciation for our area, but others' appreciation for what my public art can bring to the area. And like I said, their daily routines. So I mean, it's great. And also the kind words along the way. It's not just when the project's done. Right. When I'm up there sweating in 100-degree heat, or once it starts getting colder and people stop by and have kind words and just show their appreciation. It really gives me that extra bit of drive that I sometimes really need.
That's so great. Well, I think of you every time I'm in Sidecar, for sure. Twisted Track, and of course, French Farmhouse. You walk by this beautiful wall, and like, how can anyone not think of you? That's so cool. And it's exciting that you're from here. I'm going to make you sign a friendship contract so that you never leave the area, for the record. But to be able to share your experience as a native here and to connect with people who maybe you didn't connect with before, like, that's really powerful.
Sure. And I think that kind of ties in nicely to what the city is kind of pulling me on board to do, which is find new artists, be able to find other local artists that are interested in murals as well. My roots in education, as I said earlier, I taught for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I have a pretty extensive network of youth and young artists in the area that I'm really excited to try to bring into the fold, show them kind of some tricks along the way, and mentor them in a sense and what they can bring to the area. Because I think it's great when I do projects, but also it's really exciting to see a variety of styles and see what we can cultivate, as we become a growing arts community. Yeah,
it's really a rising tide lifts all ships kind of thing. That's fantastic. And so in thinking about sort of who you've worked with or who you'd love to work with, what local artists have you really been working with? Or if you want to learn more and work with you, how do they do that? What are you doing to outreach kind of thing?
Well, really, it's a word of mouth right now.
Okay.
I've developed kind of a checklist where people can come up and present their walls in certain neighborhoods. We're really trying to have an impact with neighborhoods across the area rather than just the downtown area. You know, downtown has grown so much in such great ways, and we've brought public art to it, and we're still going to bring more public art to it. But I think that the exciting thing here is we're bringing artwork to areas that are a little bit underserved in terms of the joy and beauty public art can bring.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to find more artists from those communities. Katrina Leggins, who is the emerging artist in residence, she's going to be doing a few pieces with us as well this year, amongst others. And the hope is that we can kind of broaden that spectrum of artists in the area that are bringing joy to our public art scene.
Oh, that's so exciting. And you actually, did you just complete a mural where there's a dog on it? Because I feel like if there's a dog on it, I got to know about it.
I did. I can check that one off the list in the area. So that one's over on Melrose at Dixie Building Products. And that was my most recent project that I finished last month. And it was a massive undertaking, but so much appreciation has been shown to that project because there's really not a whole lot of artwork in that area of town.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. And you're bringing someone like, I really need to go see that. And the dog is so cute. You guys got to see it. We'll share a picture on our webpage because it's so cute. And thinking about that, your favorite mural, do you have a favorite? Is it like a child? You can't pick your favorites?
It's a bit that way. There are ones that I look at and I'm like, oh, I could have done this or that. You know, that comes from the fact that I've only been doing this for 3 years, you know.
When you say that, it's like, oh my gosh.
It's been such a whirlwind over the past 3 years. But, you know, as I look into the pieces I have done, technically I really like the one I just finished on Melrose at Dixie Building Products. I mean, that's the first one I did large scale figures. There's 2 large scale figures of children sitting around a campfire. And so I used a lot of the tricks and tips I learned from James on the Freedom First mural in that project. So technically, that's probably my favorite piece I've done. However, process-wise, the Greenways murals last year were such an amazing experience to work alongside iHeart Southeast and so many great people from the Greenway community. That was a great project.
Yeah. Do you feel that you have, I'm thinking about those and the style, what would you sort of describe your style as? Because when I think of your work, I think of color and bold and vibrant and, you know, the gorgeous birds. I mean, you can see all the detail. Like, what would you describe your style as?
I love to celebrate color, and I know that might be a cliche thing to say.
No, I don't think so.
You know, that kind of ties into artistically. I did photorealistic portraits for 10 years in charcoal, black and white. And I really enjoyed that. But now that I'm doing murals, I'm like, let's push color into it.
Yeah.
So my style kind of, it has a juxtaposition between brushwork and rolling in the backgrounds and these kind of realistic, highly realistic figures, animals, different imagery that's done in spray paint. So I found this kind of nice complementary process where I can start with the brushes and rollers and I can finish certain areas with the sprays to really make it pop out.
Man, I could barely spray paint my fence. I like that. You're so talented, just crazy. And so actually I wanted to touch you. We've talked about public art. And so I actually want to talk about the exhibit that you had earlier this summer. Tell us a little bit about that, because I walked in and not only is the gallery, of course, just a beautiful space, but the artwork that you showed was incredible.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I mean, I showed with Sarah Parcell, another really fantastic artist in the area. She does beautiful work. And we showed at the Alexander Heath Contemporary Gallery downtown.
Incredible space.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Ed Hedig, he's the one that kind of runs that space, and he's brought such a gem to our area. We have great galleries in Roanoke. Not enough people, I think, frequent them. It's something that I've kind of recently got more into. But Art on First, amongst others, they really give us a great experience in what you can see, not just from local artists, but from artists abroad. You know, Ed has brought in artists from all over the country and the East Coast, from New York, to show at the Alexander Heath right in Roanoke.
Yeah.
And for me to be able to exhibit there was such a treat. It was my first real exhibit in Roanoke. I showed my portraits for 10 years across the country.
I was about to say,
but I
it
never
feels so
showed
hard
in
to
Roanoke.
believe, but
Yeah.
I mean, you're just saying it's been, you know.
Yeah, that was kind of my gift to myself of, you know, for a long time I shipped artwork away to different juried exhibits, and then they would ship it back. And I got to show at all these amazing galleries that I never got to go to the shows and see my work hanging. So Sarah and I approached Ed at the Alexander Heath, and he was on board with the project. And so we showed this past spring, and we had 300 or 400 people come to the opening.
I mean, the opening night was
It was
packed.
insane.
And I think I got there early because I knew it would be packed. And I was like, oh, okay, elbow room.
It was fantastic. And I'd encourage anybody to go visit the space. You know, they have an opening the first Friday of every single month. So there's so much going on in Roanoke on, you know, the first Friday of the month. I'd say if you can get down to the Alexander Heath, try to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote in my editor's letter, like, if you say that there's nothing to do here, we need to end our conversation because there's so much to do here. And I love that just this one piece of it is, you know, every first Friday, and you get to check out all the local artists. And like you said, it's not just the local artist. You're bringing in world renowned, I mean, everywhere from the galleries to the Taubman. I mean, there's so much rich art here. So that's really exciting.
I mean, the Taubman itself is, you know, it's such a mainstay of Roanoke now.
Yeah.
You know, people come from all over to see artwork there. And again, I think that's something that really leads into the conversation of what Roanoke is becoming. And I think we're really becoming a town for the arts, which is exciting.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, congratulations on the exhibit because it was absolutely stunning. That Anthony Bourdain sketch, I hope that somebody's bought that and it's hanging in their home.
I mean, that was 105 hours, 106 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, meticulous.
Okay, I played like 80 hours in a video game. I gotta like take a page out of your book.
Now I do murals, so yeah.
No, that was amazing. So in thinking about, you know, listeners who have been hearing this conversation today and they're looking to be an artist or learn more, and you're talking about mentoring young artists and new artists, maybe not young, but what advice would you give to aspiring artists who look at your work and think, I really want to be where he is in a few years? What do you tell them?
It's such an exciting thing for me because, you know, my roots, as I said, are in education. So that is really close to my heart to be able to kind of cultivate creativity in others. And that's why I do a lot of my community projects as well. But for me, as I kind of move into that kind of realm, I think that it's important for artists to go outside their comfort zone a little bit. For me, it was kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid from going to public art from portraits, you know, working in my own studio, kind of staying in my own lane, but not really interacting with others. Getting outside of your comfort zone, trying something new, taking some risks, I think can be so important to the creative process. And then also trying to get to know other artists in the area. You know, I think that I'm a great example of somebody that didn't do that enough. You know, I kind of stayed in, you know, like I said, my studio and worked on my portraits and had a great time, but I didn't get to meet as many artists as I have in the past few years since I've tried to reach out and branch out.
There was a pandemic too, you know, somewhere in the middle of that. So.
Yeah, but, you know, kind of trying to meet others. Roanoke is such a great community of artists that we have here that have been doing it for years and years, and also that are newer on the scene. And with the gallery presence we have here, with the Taubman, the Art Museum, it's a really exciting time as an artist. So I would encourage any artist to try to network a bit and try to get out there and meet others and share your creative ideas with them, because collaborations can be a great thing.
Yeah, you might be inspired by somebody just out the gate, and next thing you know, you have this great new project on your hands. Yeah, that's really cool. So the last question I have for you before we talk about, you know, where to find your work and things like that. Eat, play, do in the region. Where are we going? Where are you hanging out?
Well, you're talking to an artist now, so I might be a little different. As I mentioned earlier, you know, art on first, the Alexander Heath, go to a gallery, enjoy a gallery, enjoy the Taubman, you know, get out of your comfort zone. If you're not into the arts, try it out. You might really like it. For myself personally, if I'm going to eat, there's always a special place in my heart for local roots.
Man, one of my personal favorites.
That's grown up in the area. You know, I still love it. Sidecar, great cocktails.
Do you like to go just admire your own work at the bar while you're sitting there? Is that super awkward?
I don't go there for that. It's nice. I go there, you know, for
the taste of food and drinks, obviously.
The food and drinks. But it is nice to see my work there.
Yeah.
Twisted Track is great. Great beer, Big Lick as well. Blind House is great. I don't know if you had
Man,
any.
that's, without showing favoritism, that's like my new favorite spot right now because their beer has been so
fantastic.
Good. Oh my gosh.
It's fantastic. So shout out to them.
Yep, shout out to Tyler
as well. Obviously Bloom. You know, we have such a great food scene here as well, and that just kind of ties into the arts.
Well, and that leads me to a whole other question. You know, when you go to some place like Bloom, Nate really, the chef, really takes his time in making things look gorgeous on a plate, much like many other chefs and restaurants do. So you must find a lot of inspiration in that when you're seeing bright summer colors and things like that on a plate.
Yeah, and some of my new themes are really going to focus on the kind of local flora and fauna of the area. I did a mural over for Leap as well. It kind of celebrated local foods in their community space. So I think that, that amongst other things, there's so many different forms of art that we can really explore and appreciate here in Roanoke. And, for me, like you were saying, Bloom can be one of those things. Our coffee shops we have here as well. There's just such an exciting culture we have here.
Yeah, I feel like there's inspiration everywhere, no matter what your sort of background is. Yeah, that's cool. So for the listeners who want to know more about your work, where are we going to be able to find some more information about you besides your killer Instagram, which I'm obsessed with looking at all the stuff you do there?
Thank you. Yeah. So I would say the Greenways. We have such an amazing gem, here in our region of having our local greenways. We did some murals out there. Check them out if you can. If you go for a bike ride, have family in town, want to go for a walk, check out the greenways, 9th Street, 13th Street. We did those last summer, and they're fantastic.
Gorgeous.
Downtown area has a lot of murals, not just mine, but tons of other artists. You can see the work that I just finished on Melrose. If you're driving by or on your commute, try to drive by Dixie Building Products. It's an unbelievable mural. It's 2 murals side by side. I'd encourage anybody to check that out. We're hoping to bring more artwork to the Melrose area very soon. Cool. And then right now I'm working over at River's Edge North, right in front of Carillion, right on the fields. And that's a project I'll be finishing up very soon. And then this upcoming month, I'm working in Salem, actually.
Cool.
So hopefully people can catch me on Main Street there.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty exciting to be able to see you in action while you work. So yeah, you guys definitely have to take a trip down while he's working and check out his Instagram,
hello.
See where he is. Yeah. And I like that you're willing to say hello. You're going to stop mid brush and
well, that's a part of it. You're not just an artist, but you're also a bit of a performer.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah. When you're doing artwork out in public art, street art, the
people stop and stare.
Yeah. Well, the conversations you can have are great. And really kind of get people excited about what we're doing here.
So last question, bonus question, I guess. Yeah. Is there an artist, either regionally, locally, or maybe not, that you would love to work with that you haven't yet?
Well, I'd love to work again with James. James was fantastic. I think he was great. I have such an appreciation for so many artists in the area. Bryce is great. We have a great appreciation for each other's work. Sarah's fantastic as well. Dan Keel does great sculptures as well. So I would say I'm open to really anything, any collaborations.
And I love that. You listed several skills right there. It wasn't just murals, not that that's just, but you're looking at all sorts of inspiration from different artists, which is really cool.
And I think it's important to try to do that. Like I said earlier, get outside your comfort zone, enjoy other forms of art that you might not appreciate or you might not have as much of an understanding of it. And see where that leads you. Yeah,
it's always room for growth, so for sure. And it'll be beautiful no matter what you do. Awesome. Thank you, Jon, so much for being on From Print to Podcast today. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Please go check out his work everywhere and anywhere because it's so beautiful. And so we're going to list some things on our website to make sure that they catch up with your work and make sure to know where to find you. But thank you so much again. That was regional local artist Jon Murrill. Please check out his work around town. It's so gorgeous. And you can get a sneak peek of and from him and from local artists in Sean Nolan's mural photo essay, as well as Best of Roanoke Jinya Kalanina's mural selfies in her latest column. Plus, marvel at the Stiltwalkers, learn Roanoke's pivotal role in the national game of chess, and so much more in our latest issue on newsstands now, or always read more at theroanoker.com.